We've all picked up random car facts over the years. Things our parents said, things we heard from some random tech at Jiffy Lube who sounded confident enough that we just didn't question it, and a lot of it stuck. Even though some of it makes no sense once you think about it for like 2 seconds. So today we're gonna take an honest look at them. I'm going through 10 car myths people still believe and where there actually might be a kernel of truth. Okay, let's start off with a big one, and I think it stuck around because it does have a grain of truth in it. The problem is it just gets applied to every single car. That's where people get confused. On a normal front wheel or rear wheel drive car, you do not need to replace all 4 tires together unless, everything is worn out. If one tire gets damaged, you can usually replace just that one or replace a pair as long as the sizes match and the other tires still have decent tread. There's nothing mechanically risky about that. The all-4 idea really comes from all-wheel drive. Those systems want all 4 tires to be close to the same rolling height, so if one tire is noticeably taller or shorter because the tread length is way different, the system will interpret that as slip, and it then just starts compensating. Do that long enough, and you can actually wear out your center diff. So for all-wheel drive, yeah, sometimes you really do need all 4 new tires to keep everything happy. But for most cars on the road, you don't need to drop $1,000 just because you hit a pothole. It's a specific situation that has somehow turned into a blanket statement. And while we're on all-wheel drive myths, let's knock this one out too. Yes, all-wheel drive definitely helps you get moving in snow or rain. If you're trying to pull away on a slick surface, having power to all 4 wheels makes that first moment a lot easier. But look, that's where the advantage ends. All-wheel drive doesn't help you stop any faster. It certainly doesn't help you get extra grip once you're already in a turn. At that point, everything comes down to your tires. And if the tires can't hold the road, if they're bald, the drivetrain ain't gonna bail you out, okay? That's why you see so many SUVs end up sliding off the road during the first snowfall every year. They can get going, but they can't stay planted if the rubber isn't up to it. And when those big SUVs end up in a ditch, you'd think that they'd fare better than some rinky-dink subcompact, right? After all, size automatically equals safety. But you're wrong, okay? It feels intuitive. More metal, more mass, more protection. And in a very specific scenario, that's true. In a collision between a huge SUV and a tiny compact car, yeah, okay, the heavier vehicle is gonna come out ahead, but that's only one part of what safe actually means. See, a modern safety setup comes from crumple zones, airbag systems, chassis design, electronic stability control. It's not just size. A well-designed small car can protect you better than a poorly designed large one. And the data backs that up. The safest vehicles every year are a mix of sizes, not just the biggest ones. And then there's the other half of the equation, avoiding the crash in the first place. Heavier vehicles, more mass, they take longer to stop. They don't maneuver as well, and they carry more momentum when things go wrong. Overall safety is about engineering, not just weight. And safety in and of itself is a whole can of worms. A lot of people treat safety ratings like there's some absolute just hardcore. Like there's 5 stars, a JD Power Award, top safety pick, and suddenly that car is the safe one where everything else isn't. But the safety ratings only tell you how a car performed in very specific tests, and not every kind of crash. A car can do really well in one category and below average in the other, and that part rarely makes it into the commercial. And like before, the biggest difference is not the award, it's the engineering behind the design. 2 cars can both have 5 stars and still offer very different levels of real-world protection depending on age, structure, and the kind of crashes they're being compared in. Truth is, modern cars vary a lot in how they handle impacts. The badge on the ad is just the headline. It's not the full story. All right, I'll admit, this one's kind of dumb, okay? But we all heard it as kids, right? Not surprisingly, there's nothing to it, like at all. There's not a single state where driving barefoot is illegal. No obscure rule, no weird technicality, there's nothing. No cop is gonna shine a flashlight at your toes, okay? Parents mostly say it because barefoot driving maybe looks unsafe, or they just don't want you taking your shoes off. So yeah, if you ever driven home from the beach barefoot, you're not a criminal. Good luck getting the sand out though. Okay, this is classic dad logic. I spent my summers out in the driveway with a bucket of this stuff. Dish soap cuts through grease, so the car should be fine, right? Okay, it'll clean the car, no problem, but it also wipes away the wax and the protective layer the paint relies on. It's not the kind of thing that you'll notice overnight, but you do this after a year and you're wondering why the car suddenly looks like it's seen decades of use. Look, it's not the end of the world if you've done it once. Just maybe spend $6 on actual car soap next time. Okay, these two myths, total leftovers from the 90s that I don't know why they never died, but yes, the 3,000 mile rule made sense back when oil broke down faster and engines weren't as clean. But today, with synthetics, most cars can go thousands of miles longer without any issues. In fact, your maintenance system will literally say, hey, it's time, like it'll tell you if he needs attention. Same thing with the warm-up myth. People still sit in their driveway and idle for like 5 or 10 minutes, like the car needs some time to wake up. With fuel injection, which has been around since the 80s, that kind of warm-up doesn't do much except just waste gas. Start it, give it a few seconds to settle, and just drive it normally, okay? The engine actually warms up faster under light load than it does sitting still. If you live somewhere absolutely frigid, sure, let the fluids get moving a bit, but day to day, the long warm-up is just something that's stuck around long after the technology moved on. Now, okay, this one hangs around because it looks official, and I'll admit, it got me too. There's a number printed right on the sidewall of the tire, so you'd assume that that must be what you're supposed to use, right? But that number, it's not the recommended pressure, it's the maximum pressure the tire can safely handle. Basically, the tire manufacturer is saying, please don't go past this. The pressure your car is actually designed for is on the door jamb. That's the one the suspension and steering are tuned around, and it's what gives you the grip and the ride the car was built to have. If you inflate to the sidewall max, the car won't like explode or anything. It'll just ride worse, grip worse, and the tires will wear down faster. So yeah, use the door sticker. Now, a lot of people think that premium is basically just better fuel. Like somehow it magically keeps the engine cleaner or gives you more power. Premium is not an upgrade, okay? It is a different formula for engines that are built to need it. Higher octane helps prevent knock in high compression engines. That's it. If you don't have one of those, there's nothing for the fuel to improve. If your car doesn't require premium, it's not gonna run smoother or faster or cleaner on it. You're just paying more for something the engine can't use. There are a few cars where premium is recommended, and you might get slightly more consistent performance in certain conditions, but it's not a night and day thing, and most people probably would never even notice. So unless your manual specifically says premium required, regular is exactly what the engine was designed for. Now, before we get to number one, there are a few quick myths I couldn't leave off this list. The first one is the dome light. Everyone got told, turn that off, it's illegal. Okay, no, it's not. You're just annoying your parents in the back seat, and they were out of patience. Okay, then there's red cars. This one might be me, but I'd always heard red cars get pulled over more, but I went to go look up the numbers. There's nothing there. No stats, no trend, nothing. Red just kind of pops out in your vision, right? So when you do see one pulled over, it sticks in your memory. And finally, the idea that you can't get a seatbelt off underwater. I mean, come on, guys. In real life, the seatbelt is what keeps you conscious long enough to get out of the car. Taking it off early makes everything worse, not better. But with that, we move on to the number one biggest myth you might still believe about cars. When an EV fire happens, it is big news. Massive flames, huge publicity, it sticks in people's heads, so you'd think they're way more prone to that kind of thing, but the numbers just don't back it up. EVs average around 25 fires per 100,000 vehicles. Gas cars, closer to 1,500 per 100,000. So on a per vehicle basis, gasoline cars catch fire about 60 times more often. Yes, it's true that an EV fire is harder to put out once it starts. The batteries burn differently, so firefighters actually have special procedures on how to handle them. But the chance of an EV fire happening in the first place is so much lower than most people think. And most of the fear comes from how visible EV fires are, not how often they actually occur. Gas car fires are common enough that nobody really pays attention. And anyway, cars are so ubiquitous in American culture and society that when something seeps in, even if it's not true, it tends to stick around. some of these myths come from older tech, some come from half-remembered advice, and some just never got questioned. So if this cleared up a few things you've always heard about cars, amazing. And moving forward, that's pretty much what this channel is going to be. Some practical stuff, some weird car stories, maybe some history, and some things that are just fun to dig into. A little bit of everything that makes cars interesting. So if that sounds fun, stick around. There's some cool videos coming out soon. And if you grew up with a myth that I didn't mention, one of those lines someone told you that you just kind of accepted, let me know down in the comments. I'm really curious what else is out there. Take care, everyone, and I will see you in the next one.